So, how are we getting on with the engine on the Citroen C4 diesel we bought? Well, the technical term for it is it's goosed. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Lee and you join me today as we update the Citroen C4. Now, we bought the Citroen C4 diesel about a month or so ago. Check out that video in the link description below. Now, we bought the C4 for £850 and I bought this off a private customer. Basically, the story was they actually brought it into the garage to have some repairs done on it. It was leaking water. We actually didn't have time to actually look at it that day. Rang the customer up and apologised and said, look, we'll get round to it in the morning, leave it with me and I'll get to the bottom of it for you. They'd actually decided by this point that they'd had enough of the car. They spent quite a bit of money on it recently to get it for the MOT, and they just decided they wanted to change a vehicle, so they were going to get rid of it. So they came the next day, went to pick the car up, which is no problem, and I sort of asked them, just said, what are you doing with it? Are you actually getting rid of the car? I might be interested in it. They said yes, they were, and they'd actually made an appointment to go see We Buy Any Car, and they were offered £1,000 for it. So on that basis, I sort of quick look at it and said, look, if they don't buy it or they sort of knock you down when you get there, I'll give 850 quid for it. They were off to We Buy Any Car, and needless to say, they tried knocking them down. Never quite got the actual number what they offered him in the end, but it was obviously less than my bid. They came back and we did a deal at £850. Like I said, we went through it, had a walk round of it, and actually the car drives really well, other than the fact that it is leaking water from the front of the engine somewhere. So we needed to get that in, get it into the workshop and sort that vehicle out, get it stripped down and see where the water leak was coming from. Now, coming from the front of the engine, it really could have only been for a number of places. One of them could have been the oil cooler on the front. There's an oil cooler that keeps the oil cool on the front of the engine. It could have been leaking water from there. That is quite common on that engine to happen. So I was hoping it'd be from there, or maybe some water pipe that's running across the front of the engine maybe. That probably would have been more likely suspect as well. So we stripped down the front of the engine, and unfortunately it's not good news. It's actually leaking from the front of the cylinder head, which I was really hoping that wouldn't be the case, because that basically means now we either need to repair this engine or we need another engine. So it looks like also someone has actually tried putting some sort of substance in it, like a rad weld or a K-seal or something like that. Obviously they've been aware it's been leaking water, so they've been trying to stop the water from leaking out of the engine. And unfortunately this time it has bit us well and truly, because now we have to weigh up what we're going to do with this car. To be honest with you, my experience with this diesel engine and the 1.6 HDI, we've tried repairing a few of these in the past, having sort of head gaskets done on them, and they never really come out that well. When you get them sort of sent away to skimmed and pressure tested, they usually have a failed pressure test, or I've had them where we've actually rebuilt them and they've been skimmed and pressure tested, and they still leak from the side of the cylinder heads afterwards. So from my experience, I think it's just easier just to replace the engine rather than going down the rooms of trying to repair it. And time you bought all the head gasket sets, they're sitting, all the labour involved of stripping it down, and the time involved, you end up sort of spending the same amount of money and time than you will do just simply changing the engine out for another unit. So that's something unfortunately we're going to have to address. So we need to find an engine. Now luckily we have found a unit. We'll have a quick look on online, and I found a couple of engines floating around between £500 and £600. I purchased one of them now. That's now actually been purchased and it's on the way to us. So then finally we can then crack on with the car. We're going to have to get on with it, get the engine out of it, get the new engine into the car. From there we can then go on and look to get the car ready for retail. A few little jobs need doing on it, a bit of paint, but we're going to have to press on with these in order that we can actually sell the car on and try and extract our money back, and obviously try and maintain a little bit of a profit in it. So where's that going to sit with us? Well, looking at the costings of it, to be honest with you, there's not going to be a great deal in this, but if the alternative to that is to basically just not bother with the car and sell it as it is, as spares or repairs, we're going to lose more money than they will do actually going ahead and fixing it. So say we spent £850 on the car, we're going to have to obviously supply another engine for it, but then we're obviously going to have to put other bits and bobs on, we're going to need a cam belt, etc. So there's other bits and bobs we're going to have to spend on that. So this is probably going to end up costing us the best part of, in the region of about £1,500–1,600, and then we need to actually get some paint done on it. There's a wing that wants paint on it that's quite badly damaged, that needs sorting as well, and we could potentially maybe looking at maybe sorting the bonnet out, or getting a replacement bonnet for it because it's a bit chippy on the front. So we could be into the reams of nearly 1,800–1,900 quid here before we've actually got this car ready for sale. There's still a margin in it, don't get me wrong. I mean, I probably value this car somewhere in the region of about £2.5 grand, as we looked at in our last video on it. There is still money in it, and I think it will sell pretty well. And it does drive well, with the exception obviously of the auto leak, and another engine will obviously solve that problem. So that's what we're going to have to do with it. We're just going to have to crack on with it, get the car fixed and ready, and just get out of it that way. Get out of it by selling it on, making it a good car, and then just moving on. So it's not the end of the world, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not what I was expecting, and it could have gone completely the opposite way. It could have been something really straightforward. It could have been a simple water cooler leak. It could have been just a pipe leaking, and if it had been the case, we could have fixed it for buttons, and we would have had a great big chunk of money out of the car, and everything would have been great, and we'd have been laughing to the bank. But it doesn't always work that way. End of the day, you take a risk, and sometimes it works for you, and other times it doesn't. You have to take the rough with the smooth. So we didn't necessarily get the outcome that I would like on the Citroen, but at the end of the day, we just have to crack on. We can make the car the best as we can. We sell it on, and we'll just make a smaller profit on it. So that's what we'll do. We'll just crack on with the Citroen. Now the engine's on its way. It took a bit of a weight off my shoulder, to be honest. I can just basically just move on, get it gone, and then we can just sort of move on forward and reinvest the money. But I will cover that car in a part 3 when it's done, because I think it'd be nice to show actually when the new engine's in, when it's been to paint, so you can actually see the finished process as well when it's come back, and hopefully we've sold it by that point as well. So that should really happen over the next few weeks, so look out for that in a part 3. All being well, we have to go through the numbers then and actually see what the total bill was for the Citroen and see what we made out of it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we do get a little bit of a profit out of it. That'd be nice under the circumstances. So a couple of other bits that have been mentioned. I keep getting asked a lot about the BMW 320d Touring. That was one of the first videos I actually ever did on the channel back in November last year. I actually still have that car. It is actually still on site. We have made a little bit of progress with it. We actually stripped the brakes down, found the problem with it. It was basically having a horrible, basically it had a horrible banging noise when you drove it, and it was all the brakes locking up and locking the diff up, and it just sounded horrendous. It sounded like the axle was coming off it when I drove it originally. But you can check out that video in the link description below. That's what I said. That was one of the first videos we ever did. But since obviously that video, it just sort of got left about. It sort of got left back of the queue, if you like. Other cars that came on the channel sort of just took ahead of it. It's just been left in the corner really to its own devices. We have started the work on it now, stripped it down, got the backing plates, new shoes and fitting kit, so we can get that all done, and then hopefully then we can get that through in the workshop, hopefully in the next few weeks, all being well, and get it finished off. There has been a major development on that car as well, which is really good news, which I'll talk more about in a part 2, which I said I'll do on that car, and I will, because it was the first car we ever did. It'd be nice to do a part 2, and actually when it's done, that will actually be a really, really nice car, and I am determined to make it a really decent car for someone and get it sold, and hopefully extract quite a bit of money out of it. I think that will make a nice bit of coin, that BMW, because it is a really nice thing. Lastly, a bit of an update on the Mini. The wheel bearings arrived yesterday, so we're going to fit that. Hopefully we get a gap tomorrow in our schedule, and service it and MOT it. We need a couple of hours just to finish that off. We don't always get the time we want to sort of get our cars on in the workshop, because we ultimately run in a garage, we deal with customers and MOTs and stuff, so we only really get the odd gap now and then to get our own vehicles in to sort of repair. So that's when we try and do them. We don't really want to be taking customers' cars off the ramps to fix ours, because then it just sort of defies the point really. We're just losing money one way to gain it from another. It doesn't make sense. So when we get sort of downtime, we get the odd gap now and then. It makes it easier to get the cars in and fix them when we're not doing anything. We're sort of lying around anyway. So that's also what we do here. That's what we do here. So we just don't have as much time as we'd like to get the cars through. That is going to change though soon, quite radically. I'll talk more about that in another video. That's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed the update on the Citroen, and obviously check out the part 3 when it's finished. All being well, we can get some money out of it. Please check out my other videos. I've got lots of walk round part exchange videos coming this week, so check them out as well. We're filming every day, so please check those videos out. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all very, very soon.